Diane Abbott, has called for a UN investigation into the alleged chemical weapon attack in the Syrian city of Douma on Saturday, despite Russia vetoing such a measure earlier on the UN Security Council earlier in the week, in a car crash. Interview on BBC Radio 4's Today programme, the Shadow Home Secretary insisted that the UK should not engage in any bombing missions until an independent investigation could be conducted. She said, "The use of chemical weapons is horrific, but first of all, we need to get the evidence. That's why we're calling for an independent, UN-led investigation of the horrific chemical weapons attacks." Pressed by host Nick Robinson on what evidence would satisfy Labour, Abbott said, "Let's see what the inspectors come up with." The US Defense Secretary's saying, "We don't have all the evidence at the moment. Even in the US, there's the understanding that we don't have all the evidence, but..." After being repeatedly asked in what circumstances Labour would support military intervention, the only example she could offer was World War II. Sky BBC Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott was grilled by Robinson over Labour's stance on Syrians. Abbott issued her call despite the fact Russia had already rejected a UN Security Council resolution to set up an independent investigation into the incident in Douma, which killed more than 65 people. Russia has vetoed such measures 6 times and blocked any UN involvement in the Syrian conflict over the duration of the war. She insisted, bombing is not the answer. When asked by Robinson why there had not been a single UN investigation since the Syrian war began 8 years ago, she replied, "We have to go forwards, on the basis of the facts and on the basis of the evidence." Robinson interjected, "You're calling for something that hasn't happened in 8 years." Abbott insisted, "We think it should happen. That's our position." Her responses caused Robinson to react angrily, saying, "You would call for something hasn't happened up till now. You'd say to Macron, 'Sorry, we can't help.' You would call for something hasn't happened up till now. You'd say to Macron, 'Sorry, we can't help.'" Nick Robinson. Trump greatly escalated fears of a military intervention on Wednesday, when he rebuked Russia for its support of the Assad regime and announced that he was preparing to send missiles to Syria. Prime Minister Theresa May now believes she has the political support to take military action against Syria without a parliamentary vote. At an emergency 2.5-hour meeting of the cabinet, following a briefing from National Security Advisor Mark Sedwill, the PM won unanimous backing to take action to alleviate humanitarian distress and to deter the further use of chemical weapons by the Assad regime, according to a briefing from No. 10 last night. Russia has vowed to shoot down any U.S. missiles fired at Syria. Russia's ambassador to Lebanon Alexander Zasupkin told Hezbollah's Al-Mana TV, "If there is a strike by the Americans, then the missiles will be downed and even the sources from which the missiles were fired." Prime Minister Theresa May now believes she has the political support to take military action against Syria without a parliamentary vote. At an emergency 2.5-hour meeting of the cabinet on Thursday, the PM won unanimous backing to take action to alleviate humanitarian distress and to deter the further use of chemical weapons by the Assad regime, according to a briefing from No. 10 last night. But yesterday, the White House appeared to row back on Trump's earlier threats, saying no final decision had been made on Syria. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has accused Mrs. May of waiting for instructions from Donald Trump as she decides how to act, and warned that UK military intervention risks escalating an already devastating conflict.